All
Hi,
right.
Patrick. It's great to meet you again. And I'm very happy that you found the time for another interview about your wonderful work. You are doing lots of events all around the globe, I guess. And I think your special is healing with love, right?
Yes, we call, of course, All Love, actually All Love Sekhem. And the reason that we use the word all love is because the focus is opening the heart center.
Ah,
And so what we found in working with the Sekhem energy is that there would be an initiation that would take place.
ah,
And the initiation seemed to focus most of the time right in the heart center.
okay.
So what people would experience would be this, it's almost like an orgasm
Great.
in the heart center.
How many initiations can one get one day?
Well, it's you can have multiple orgasms.
That sounds very interesting.
And there's also it feels a little bit like a big download, it's like a download of the soul energy coming into the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this like a huge expansion that takes place.
Mm-hmm.
And then you feel this deep sense of love that a lot of people have never had that experience in their life.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
That's so precious. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. So that's the reason that we started calling the class All Love, because that was the experience that people were having.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this creates tremendous healing effect for people who have a lot to forgive, who have a lot of hurt in their heart, right?
Well, it can encompass a lot of different things, but yes, a lot of blocks in the heart center begin to open up. One of the side effects is after the class, you tend to fall in love a lot. we have to warn people. We've had a lot of marriages, you know, for people
Good.
that have actually met in the class.
Okay.
You know, they'll come to the class, their heart will open up, and then it's like they meet. So we have to sometimes give a little warning. And now this energy can work all through the body. So it can do a lot of, you know, it isn't just focused on love, but that seems to be one of the predominant things that happen in the class.
Wow, that's interesting. In some ways, it reminds me to the Sufi healing with love when they say they bathe in love. That's what I heard.
Yes, yes, and actually, my experience for some people that know or don't know, I went to Egypt, and actually I snuck into the pyramid. You know, I went in as a tourist, but then I hid, and they locked me in for the night.
Ooh.
And so I was able to spend the night in the king's chamber in the sarcophagus, and then I had my first experience connecting to the heart. After I left, it was like magic, because somebody came up to me and they said, I'm looking for this particular Sufi. And I spoke a bit of Arabic, so I found this the place that they would do the Sufi work. And before I knew it, I was in the Sudan with this Sufi sheikh.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, you know, they actually paid my ticket to go see this guy.
Wow.
And it was an amazing journey. And he gave me a meditation that I worked with, and it really helped open the heart. So I kind of had this pyramid experience and then Sufi experience simultaneously. The interesting thing I found with this is that I really felt that the Sufis had integrated some of the spirituality of ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
And this Sufi sheikh was from a place called, he's Nubian.
Okay.
And if you go to Egypt, the Nubians still speak some of the ancient language.
Ah.
All right. So there's still this connection. Now, in order for this to survive in like the Islamic tradition, they just integrated it. And so they still do a lot of the ancient practices, I think, that were practiced in ancient Egypt, but they just converted it more into Islam.
That sounds so fascinating. What I know about the ancient Egyptian way of life and spirituality is that it was all about harmony. It was all about taking care for each other and balancing the heart energy.
Yes, well, there was a lot. There was a lot of that. I mean, it was also at times. I mean, they were a kind of a warrior culture as well. They, they had that going on. But this, yes, they had terms for opening the heart, connecting with the heart, opening the spirit, this sort of thing. So it was part of the culture. Now, for instance, like with shamans, and again, the word shaman, I think it comes from some Siberian tribe, but like for instance, the shamans that live in Peru, I work with that in the Indians. A lot of times it was just a small portion of people that knew this knowledge.
Yeah.
And it may be possible back in Egypt, it was like that too. There was just a small portion of people that really knew this and connected to it, with the education, the knowledge, and that sort of thing. Because sometimes they kept it very secret knowledge.
Yeah, sure.
And in fact, the Rosicrucians evolved a lot out of that Egyptian
really?
knowledge. Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yes. And so some of the, might say some of the Christian occult people, the Knights Templars and things like this, they also relate to some of the Egyptian knowledge.
Ah, so they just were weaving that into the Christian church ideas so they could go on with it, right?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, like with the Templars, if you get into their initiations and things like that. Now, I haven't studied it, so if there's somebody out there as a Templar, they may know a little bit more than me. But I do know that there is this very strong connection. The strong connection with sacred geometries. I mean, they are famous more because they built the cathedrals. Yeah. So you took some of the knowledge, from pyramid building, and then transferred it into the building of the temples.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was one of the reasons that I went to Egypt, because I really wanted to connect with the knowledge that was behind that. I was studying architecture at the time, graduated from architecture school. I said, hey, if I'm going to be an architect, I want to really know some of these basic things about the sacred geometry and be able to build with it. But most importantly was experience it. And as far as I knew, the Great Pyramid would be the best place to go.
I guess so. I mean, that's one of the world wonders of architecture. I still wonder, how did they move these 300-ton blocks of stone? I cannot imagine.
Well, it is a big mystery, but if you look all over the world, you have Stonehenge. The stones are almost as big.
Yeah.
You go to Peru, and the stonework I felt is even more fascinating because of the way they would facet them and piece them together like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, a lot of people say, oh, maybe the aliens came and built this.
Well,
but you can see that there's a human element to everything. The perfection of the blocks is only on the exterior. And the big blocks they talk about are at the base. So it's not like they're taking these tons of stone and moving them all the way up the pyramid. When you get to the top of the pyramids are not much bigger than 2 times your laptop. size.
Okay.
You know, they're not any more than a meter. So that's very manageable. Also, the Incas were building these massive structures when the Spanish arrived.
Ah.
So it wasn't some ancient knowledge. It was stuff that was very closer to our time in our timeline, that people were still building this, but this sort of technology. So it's amazing.
But they didn't show this to the Spanish, right?
The Spanish were only interested in getting the gold. They weren't interested in the knowledge, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
It's a shame.
What a pity. Yeah,
because
it's really a shame.
But they do talk about how that it was done. And I know particularly, it was a wonderful guide. His name is Malaku. And he gives tours at the Machu Picchu and other places there. And he really explains it, you know, how they were actually able to form these stones. And basically what they would do, you described it, you said they'd find the stone, and then work with the natural fissures of the stone and just crack it, pull it out, and then they would reassemble it. So it's really fascinating the way, and you could see it. You could go to places where the stone was, and you could see the natural cracks in it, and how then they would form it.
Fascinating.
But this technology was just lost. And of course, when we look back at it, we're just fascinated, but there's simple physics behind it.
Yeah, that's fascinating to hear, you know. There are so many people who just have read books about that. And I appreciate it very much that you tell us from firsthand, so to say, how this works. And I guess that in a way, this kind of understanding helped you also to heal the people spiritually coming to you, right?
Oh yeah, well, we have several tours. We go to Egypt. In fact, we were just in Egypt this last year. Spent almost 6 months in Egypt.
Wow.
You know, just, you know, connecting to the energy there, going into the temples, visiting the temples. But normally every year we do take a group, but because of COVID, we haven't been able to do that. We'll be going, we plan to go in October.
This October.
Yeah.
Well, you are very positive minded.
And it's interesting because we're able to do our meditations, do everything. We can spend like an hour doing meditations inside the pyramids.
Yeah.
We actually rent the pyramid for the night, you know, a few hours in the night.
That's possible.
Yes.
Wow.
And so we all able to have the experience. You go up in there, you lay down in the sarcophagus, do a very short meditation. Depends on the number of people we have, but everybody gets that experience.
Wow. So you are guiding these groups into the pyramid, and they spend the night there together with you?
Well, we only can rent it for a couple hours.
Okay, I see. Well, still, it's
2 hours. We tone, we do the meditation, we do the initiations. You know, just like I know that you're doing the Reiki initiations and things like that. Well, we're able to have a very special room to do that in.
Wow, that would be something, doing Reiki initiation inside of a pyramid.
Yes.
Wow, I would love that.
Well, it just doubles it up. It's like it's an amplifier.
I see.
But one of the things is that we're able in our classes to replicate almost everything that I experienced in the pyramid now.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yes. So it's just like everything that we do, you know, through the work that we're doing, we're able to kind of get people into that state of consciousness without the pyramid.
So the pyramid is spiritually there, but you don't have to be there physically.
Now, what it does is that once you get, it's a little bit like a Reiki initiation.
Okay.
Once you get it, you carry it with you.
So it stays in the system.
Yes, you get activated and it's there all the time.
Okay, so that's a Sekhem energy.
The Sekhem.
Sekhem.
Yes.
Okay. That's interesting. And then do you project it with your mind, or you place your hands on someone, or how do you do that?
Well, really, you don't have to do anything.
Ah, great. That's the best.
You don't have to do anything, but we do encourage you, stay in your heart, stay focused, and then that can help intensify the whole experience for you and the person that you're working with.
I see. I see. Yeah.
It's a little bit like, again, it works on some of the basic principles, which of course Reiki works off of. Where, you know, with Reiki, you can be doing a Reiki session, you could be watching TV, you can be doing anything, you're just doing the Reiki. And it works that way as well. But one of the things that we did find is that, hey, if you actually go into the meditation yourself, stay focused in your heart, open it like increases the experience for both of you.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes.
And so people coming to your events with any kind of issues they want to harmonize, or is it special, something special?
It can be anything you wish for. Like if somebody wants to help open their heart, that's good. If somebody wants to have a particular healing, physical healing, they can focus on that. Now, we do want to say, though, that we work from a spiritual point of view on this.
Yeah.
So we don't advertise that we're doing healing. It's just a side effect.
Okay, it's a side effect. Yeah, of course, we are not the medical doctors. So what we're doing is just taking care of the spiritual harmonization and leaving the rest to the medical professionals.
Exactly. We know that.
yeah. But
You know.
I think it's always important that the audience also understands that we are no doctors, you know, so they don't think that we give them the pill and we give them the injection.
Exactly. They have their specialty and we have our specialty. It's like if you go to the doctor and you ask the doctor, oh, listen, I'm feeling my kundalini kind of getting a little uncomfortable in the base of my spine. Is there something that I can do for that? The doctor won't have a clue what you're talking about.
No, but they will have a drug to bring you down to earth.
Yes. So
Patrick, I think that there are also people revisiting your classes, right?
Yes. Now we have a little different approach. I don't do levels. So for instance, it isn't like doing level 1, level 2, level 3. What you do is you can come, and you can come as often as you like. And each time another layer will start to unfold. So we've had people that, you know, they've been coming for over 10 years. Every year they'll come to the class. Like I do my tour, and like every year in Amsterdam we'll have a class. So that group of people, they'll come every year. We do teach all over the world. We've been in Holland, Spain, Hong Kong, Taiwan, India, Brazil.
God.
You know. And so that group of people, they'll attend and they'll come every year, and they do notice a big shift each time they come.
Okay, and so entering a new level means that they also, when they are ready, they receive another initiation, and then
Exactly.
Okay.
And we don't number them.
Yeah.
It is a little bit like an orgasm. You know, it's like you don't do orgasm 1, orgasm 2, orgasm 3, and then you're done.
I think most people don't do that. That's right.
No. No. And the thing is, see, you can have the orgasms in different chakras. You have the heart orgasm, you have the throat orgasm, and you have the crown, the third eye, and then you also have the ones down in the base chakra and that sort of thing. But there's these different awakenings that can take place.
Well, that's interesting. What is that kind of awakening? What? can I understand?
Well, the heart, you just feel this immense love when that happens. The throat is rather interesting because you've probably been around where you see people speaking in tongues or speaking in, channeling light language and that sort of thing. All of a sudden, they'll open their throat and they'll start to be speaking in other languages. We've had that happen quite often. All of a sudden, depending on the person, they'll just start, speaking, their tongue will just start going, and sometimes people can understand exactly what they're saying. Sometimes it's an earth language. Like we've had somebody one time, they just started speaking a very old German language.
Oh, really? Well,
yes.
That must have sounded
and
weird.
We had somebody, it was in Mexico, actually, when that happened. We had somebody who could speak German and they could understand what the person was saying. And they had never spoken or had any training in German.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yes. So, and then we've had people, they're speaking, it almost sounds like a alien language at times, different things. And what's more fascinating is that I'll hear it, and then I'll go to another class in another country and somebody will start speaking the same language. I recognize it.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
So it's in a way, the fields are interconnected.
Exactly. Yes. But, it's like we all have these connections, whether they're earth-based or extraterrestrial-based.
Yeah, sure. We all have our roots, and I think it's important to discover these roots, where we come from, where we originally feel belonging to, and getting into that energy again.
No, it's so wonderful, and it really wakes you up to realize that you're not just this physical body. You're much more than this.
Yeah. Right. And so people feel, when they come to your classes, they feel they are not just the physical body, they feel the energy body, right?
Exactly. They'll feel their energy body, they'll connect to, to the soul level. And the goal really is to really connect to source.
Okay. So being with divine.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
sometimes you just feel like you're connecting to the universe.
Yes.
And that's really the most wonderful experience.
Oh yeah, just floating.
You have an experience like that, and you won't have fear of death anymore. A lot of the fears just dissolve, because all of a sudden you realize, wow, I exist beyond this. And then you have a knowing. There's a wisdom, a deep wisdom that comes from it.
Yeah. That's so important. That's so valuable. I know a lot of people who really have panic because they fear death,
Exactly. Or, this whole COVID thing, it's creating so much fear on the planet. And, for my wife and I, we were responsible with it, but we went to Egypt during the middle of the pandemic. We were in Brazil, which was actually, one of the hot spots. And it was interesting because on our trip to Europe, we decided, well, we want to go to Europe, but they were doing the vaccinations. You had to have all of this stuff. And so I said, well, why don't I just take an antibody test? And it said that I had COVID. And my wife, my child, it said we all had COVID, but we didn't know when we had it.
It just happened.
Yeah, maybe I had a little fever one day, but my child, no, he was healthy the whole time. My wife was healthy the whole time. So we really had no idea. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we weren't walking around in fear about it. We're still living our lives, we're doing amazing things during the pandemic. And it just so happened, and so now we have the antibodies, which is, really the most important thing in this time, you know, to develop those antibodies. And probably a lot of people out there have come into contact and have developed their own natural antibodies.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so.
Mhm.
So is it right that during the coronavirus crisis, you also did and maybe still do a lot of webinar classes?
Well, this is the thing is that we stopped doing the traveling to teach.
Okay.
And then we're online now. Almost every week we do a class. We've sometimes we're working with other wonderful teachers. You know, we worked with our Java a
Oh,
few
yeah.
weeks ago. You know, we have you lined up to do something
Yeah,
with you. And
looking much forward.
there's a wonderful teacher called Jasmine. We're going to be working with her. Then one of my earlier teachers, his name was David Quigley, and he's like a little wizard. We're going to be working with him. So we have, you know, not only we teach what we teach, but we also introducing and helping other people because this Zoom format or the online format is just amazing.
Oh yes, yes, it's I love it, you know, being together with the people from all around the world without having to pollute the environment and having to travel, you know, that's great.
Well, it is. It's just been wonderful. And it's really woken us up to a lot of things too, because we're getting almost identical results online.
Wow.
You know,
Amazing.
you know, well, basically it's really all what you believe. So, you know, I know there's a lot of teachers out there, they say, oh, no, you can't do these sorts of initiations. You have to be present and this sort of thing. And yes, I have a wonderful experience doing things in the present with somebody. But when we do it in Zoom, people are having identical experiences.
Yeah.
And it's really all what you believe in. So
yeah.
If you believe that it can't happen, then you create that reality. And if you believe that it can happen, then you create that reality.
Great.
You know, one time I posted a video of a Sekhem initiation because it can be intense. You'll see people vibrating, shaking, and some people have told me, you know, you don't put that video online because people are going to see that and they're going to get scared. And I've said, well, they need to see it because, you know, when you go online and you actually see what's going on, because there's sometimes a lot of emotional release, there's physical vibration, there's all these things that you can tangibly see and probably measure. It gives it really helps that belief even more. And so you trust it. You go, wow, you know, these things are possible. And then if you believe it's possible, then it happens. You can create that.
Yeah, right. Right. What comes to my mind is I often experienced that a lot of people fear the encounter with divine. And I'm curious, did you have similar experience?
Well, you know, I mean, this goes back, yes, but the pyramid experience was this way.
Oh, really?
Yes. What happened is that I was meditating. You know, I said, okay, I want to meditate in the pyramid. This was my goal. I didn't know how I would do it. And so I went in kind of as a tourist. And when I was there, I saw a little doorway that was left open. It was like a little doorway right before you go into the king's chamber, and it didn't have a lock on it. So I just said, well, I'm going to go back there. And if it's open tomorrow, I'm just going to crawl in and stay there.
Oh, that was the plan.
And so I did that.
Wow.
And then I came out and I was sitting in the pyramid, and it was interesting because I do a very beautiful internal sound meditation. This is one of the things I was practicing. It's all about going in, listening to your inner, kind of like your soul sound. And I sat down in the sarcophagus, and it just happened instantaneously. Usually it might take me 15 or 20 minutes to kind of get into it. but this was just so quick. I go, wow, you know, I can hear the sound, but it was mosquitoes.
Oh.
And I thought, oh no, I don't want to be meditating with mosquitoes. And so I ended up wrapping myself up. The only thing I had was toilet paper, you know, to protect myself. And I didn't realize the whole irony, but I had wrapped myself in this toilet paper. And so I was like a mummy in there. And then I said, okay, now I'm going to lay down. And then when I lay down, all of a sudden I could hear these footsteps. And if you don't know the configuration of the pyramid, is in order to get to the king's chamber, you have to walk up the grand gallery, which is a big stairway. And it was just like in my mind, I could hear somebody walking up the boom, boom, walking up the stairs. And I thought, okay, I'm going to get caught. You know, if I get caught, I'm going to jail. And my heart starts to race, you know, and I'm going into the fear. And then I realized it wasn't human. And I said, what's coming towards me? And I could feel it walking. I mean, here I am in the pitch black in the pyramid, and something's walking towards me.
Oh, ooh.
And you know, I go into the fear, and then right at the moment, it's like, you know, you can't die of fear. I thought, well, wait a minute, this is why I came. This is what I came to experience. And then I just relaxed. And then I had this awakening take place.
Oh, after you opened up and said, okay, whatever
just
happened.
If I'm going to die, just die, you know?
Yeah.
You know, let me face that.
Yeah.
And then at that moment too, I realized that the sound was just my heartbeat.
Oh gosh.
And
What an experience.
And so, you know, I had read about Napoleon and a few other people that had spent the night there, you know, and they did have frightening experiences. So what it does is, if you're afraid, it just enhances whatever you're experiencing. It just enhances it. So I was in fear. I went deep into fear, and then it was like, okay, I just want to surrender now. And then it enhanced the surrender. And then really the surrender is so amazing. People don't.
Surrendering is really a core thing, right?
A what?
A core, like if you focus on surrendering, then lots of portals open for you, which otherwise will stay closed as long as you want things to happen. I guess they stay closed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is the principle. And so you're just kind of really just letting go and saying, you know, okay, whatever happens, happens. Trusting. You really have to trust. And know that you're totally safe.
Yeah.
In that surrender.
What a interesting dynamic life you had.
Well, yeah, I have had an amazing life, really. And of course, now we're back home. I'm in Virginia now, with my wife. We have a little 4-year-old child. And actually, you know, together with my wife, we have 9 children.
Oh gosh, that's a lot.
Yeah, so we've had a amazing life with all that. You know, I've lived in New Zealand for 10 years, children there, children in California. You know, I've been married 4 times. So, and really, it was interesting because when I had that experience in Egypt, and I went to go see the Sufi, I was single. I was doing, you know, might say sort of more of the Hindu approach, where, you know, you're kind of celibate and you're not having relationships, this sort of thing. Doing a lot of meditation. And the Sufi teacher, he says, "Are you married?" And I'm, no, I'm not married. Do you, you know, of course, do you have children? No, I don't have any children. He says, well, he says, if you really want to connect and understand spirituality, get married.
Very wise.
You know, you will learn so much. Have children. Your teachers, your children will become your best teachers.
Right.
And so it's a lot about relationships when you talk about this whole Sufi thing. So it's like
Yeah.
really living in the world, you know, rather than kind of separating yourself from it.
It's so important if we just choose to live somewhere in a cave, so we cannot help to transform society, isn't it?
Well, that's true. But
Mhm.
also your interaction, especially in kind of these sorts of relationships, whether it's a marriage
Mhm.
or with children or just friends, what it does is that it helps you realize what's inside yourself even more.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, so you can go into the cave and meditate, and you can have that sort of experience.
Mhm.
But what happens is a lot of times you don't know how to come out of the cave.
Right. Right.
You know, you come out and really integrate in the world.
So so is it for you that getting away from the world, getting into the cave is easier than getting into real life?
Well, it's interesting because if you look at, well, hey, it was just Mikao Sui's birthday just the other day.
Right. Right.
And look how Reiki started.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, here you had a guy, he was actually quite frustrated, I heard, you know,
Oh
he really
yes,
he wasn't
definitely.
getting it, you know.
No.
And the story goes that, you know, his teacher then says, well, just, you know, you just go up in the mountains and die, you know, or go up and meditate, you know, go up on the mountain. And he went there um, and did the meditation by himself. You know, he didn't go into a cave, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like that. He went into isolation,
Mm-hmm.
and then he connected with Reiki,
Yes.
you know. And you know, maybe it's 20 21 days, you know, there's different stories about how many days it was, but it was close to a month, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And we do know that Buddha, he sat under the tree for close to the month. He received his awakening in that way. And
Yeah.
so they're all very similar stories, you know. Muhammad had that experience. They talk about Jesus,
Yeah.
um, Abraham, Moses, you know, so many people to get that awakening, they do the cave experience or the isolation experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that's happening now is that even though that is, say, the way that Reiki was started, you know, how many Reiki masters do you know have actually followed Mikao Sui's path to go to the mountain or to go to the desert, go into the cave for a month?
Yeah.
You know, and this is because you will have an experience if
Sure
you
you
do
will.
that,
Sure.
you
Yeah.
know. And one of the things what you also do, you talk about my life. I met an Indian fellow one day, and we ended up he showed me this 40-day meditation,
Mm-hmm.
and we did that.
Wonderful. What is it?
Well, the main thing was he was going to teach me a little bit more of the inner sound work.
Ah, is it Surah Chapt yoga, something like that?
Well, he calls it kind of a nada
Oh yeah.
yoga, but it's
Yeah.
working with the inner sound. And so
Mm-hmm.
for 40 days, no food, you know, we did have water, and we did have like a little kind of a yogurty, watered down yogurt that were able to drink, but that was all we had for 40 days. You know, all I
Mm-hmm.
had. I was by myself. And the idea was to meditate for 21 hours a day.
Oh gosh, that's a
And
lot.
you're only allowed to sleep for 3 hours.
Oof.
And yeah, it was intense. I was ready to quit after the third day,
I guess so. I
you
would have
know.
done that.
And then it didn't help because my father died
Oh,
right before we started. I went to India, and then I got word that my father had died.
oh gosh.
And Yogi told me, he says, if you want to go back, you can go, you know. but do what you follow your heart. And I'd already talked to my dad about it and everything. He was so supportive. And I just said, no, I'm going to do this because it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to do this.
Yeah.
And so I stayed, and actually he came to visit me. My dad came to visit me.
Oh, what a wonderful gift.
And it was incredible. It was just like I just went into this whole other dimension, saw my dad. We had a wonderful talk. But I mean, that whole thing was kind of in me, you know, emotionally. And then it all shifted. And then I was able to kind of get on with the process.
That was closing the gestalt, I guess.
Yes, and it was amazing. And then the other thing that really was quite amazing too, there was a lady, I would say if there was somebody that I really kind of despised, you know, we're a spiritual person, we're not supposed to hate anybody, but really, I didn't like this woman, you know, because, well, she had done some things about, you know,
nasty.
The healing, you know, working with the healing, she was making all kinds of false claims and things like this, and it connected with me.
Yeah.
And so I had issues with this. I'll be honest, I had issues with it. She died the same day my dad did.
What?
And it was all the day before I did my 40-day meditation.
Gosh.
So it was like this amazing release. Everything just let go. So I was able to do the meditation, able to follow through and go through the 40 days. And really, you wake up.
Yes.
You have an awakening.
Yes, I guess so.
And in a way, you realize that this is like a dream. This world that we're in right now is just like a dream.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you look at your dreams, okay, I mean, your dream, when you're in your dream, you really feel it's real.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like you go in the dream, you touch, you have all the senses.
Yeah, all the things.
All the same things. And so it's in a way, you come into a state of consciousness and you realize that this world is also a dream. It's like you wake up to that.
Isn't it that they call it Maya in Indian terms?
Yeah, it'd be like you just realize is that really whatever it is that you want to experience, the universe provides that for you. So that's why you're here. So many people say, oh, I have this mission. You know, I have a mission that I want to accomplish here on the planet Earth. Well, your mission is to experience whatever it is you want to desire. And that's what you get. You're getting your wish.
Isn't that wonderful?
It is wonderful. We can create anything we want.
Yeah.
And we can create wonderful things, beautiful things, or if we want, we can create, you know, a hell if we want. And this is what a lot of people do.
Oh, yes, especially at these times, I guess.
Yes. And the media and everything, sometimes they are helping you, saying this is, you know, like an advertiser. They're tricky. You know, I mean, they use all kinds of hypnosis and everything in their advertisements to try, this is what you want. This is what you want, you know, but what you need to do is go inside. What is it that you really, really want in your life? Now, getting back to what I'm teaching, one of the most powerful methods that I use, I ask a question.
Yeah.
And I ask, who or what do you love the most?
That's a wonderful question.
You know, and it's amazing the responses you get from people.
Yeah.
Some people just kind of sit there and they go, oh, I don't know what I love the most. You know, now I've kind of had to say, beside yourself, you know, beside yourself, who do you love the most? And the reason is that because, especially with all of our spiritual training, we're taught that this is so important. you know?
Usually,
It's
yes.
important, really important to love yourself.
Mhm.
And really, that's one of the keys.
Mhm.
So what happens is that people get this program and they go, oh, I'm supposed to love myself. But they don't.
Mhm.
But they believe that they do. But they really don't. And so in a way, what happens is, especially in this world, is you're all the time looking outside yourself for love.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
It's like, oh, you meet a partner, you have a child,
Mhm.
one of the interesting things is a lot of times people, they'll look, oh, I don't know who or what I love the most. Oh, I love my pet. I love my dog. It's amazing what happens. And then in the process,
Mhm.
we just have you say goodbye to whatever it is that you love the most. It's
So
amazing what happens.
that really would move people.
Oh, it's incredible what happens.
Yeah.
The heart just starts to move,
Yeah. Yeah.
open up. And then that's when
Mhm.
the initiations can come.
That creates a space.
Yes.
Mhm.
It's like you finally get to feel your heart so deep.
Mhm.
There's this explosion that takes place, and then you get this amazing download that comes in.
Wow.
Yeah. And this is one of the things that I learned when I was in the pyramid,
Yeah.
is that I went into my fear so strongly, and then it dissolved. It created that space for the experience to happen.
I see.
And you can do that with any emotion. I mean, you can go into your anger, you can go into your hatred so strong,
Yeah.
that then, boom, it shifts.
By just saying goodbye to it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's like, what we found is that every single feeling you have,
Mhm.
if you focus on it, will take you back to love again.
Yeah, sure. That's the source.
Yeah, because really, if you hate someone,
Mhm.
look, if you really have to, if you really look, if people that are listening right now, if you really look
Mhm.
at who you hate the most,
Mhm.
a lot of the times it's somebody that you loved the most.
Exactly. Yes.
And you begin to hate them because they did something.
Mhm.
Maybe they betrayed you. Maybe they didn't do what you wanted them to do,
Mhm. Mhm.
but there was something that happened which shifted it. It's like a polarity.
Right.
And you went
Right.
from love
Exactly. Yeah.
to the hate.
Yeah. What an amazing insight. Thank you, Patrick. That's great. Big thing. So you work a lot with questions, and you help people, if I understand that right, to get into peace with what they are.
To find your true self
Yeah.
and to wake up to who and what you really are.
So usually, I don't know, it's similar in your world, but in my world, usually people come and they have so much concepts about who they are, which really have nothing to do with them.
Exactly. And this is what you wake up to. This is what,
Yeah.
for me, I discovered in the 40-day meditation. I mean,
Yeah.
I had this belief because I had what I thought was an enlightened experience.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I've had these experiences throughout my life. And I really thought that this is what enlightenment is supposed to be about, the light, connecting and seeing all these
Oh,
wonderful things, being with
oh,
the angels. This is all about enlightenment. This is what I believed enlightenment was.
I think most people think that.
Yeah. And then I realized that no, that there's a space of absolute peace and nothing.
Yeah.
And within that space of nothing, there is a deep, deep love. But it's beyond our conception of what love is.
Absolutely. It's beyond our mind. Mind is very limited.
And so this is actually a Sufi tradition. They say in order to really experience love, you have to really get your mind totally still in a state of peace where there's no thought. Because as long as you're thinking, and even if you're thinking about, oh, this is enlightenment, this isn't enlightenment, oh, I want to connect with the angels, I want to do this, I want to channel this, I want to do that. This isn't the enlightenment. Because you're always wanting to do something.
Yeah.
And as long as you're always wanting to do something, this keeps you kind of in this dream world. Now, keep in mind, we have this world, but a lot of people like to go into the other world. They talk about, oh, I want to go into the 5th dimension, 6th dimensions. But what happens? You're still thinking.
Yeah.
You're still thinking about, oh, I'm at this level now. I'm at that. I want to go to another planet. I want to, there's always something else to think about. One of the most interesting teachings or awakenings that I had with my teacher in India, I said, okay, here's an enlightened guy, and I asked him, I said, what do you think about all this past life and extraterrestrial stuff? I said, you're enlightened. If you're enlightenment, do you have experiences with this? And he just looks at me and he says, it's very interesting. And there's a reality to it. It's true. He says, but it's just something else to think about.
Yeah. Wise
and
guy.
if you're thinking about it, if you're in your mind, you're not going to experience the enlightenment.
Yes. Oh, wow. What a great guy.
Yeah. I have another story for you.
Please.
He was kind of a homeless man. He didn't have a home when I met him. I actually met him in Brazil, but he was from India. And it was the first time in his life he ever traveled. But when I met him, he started talking about the inner sound meditation. I said, I really want to learn this. So we met him in India, and we just spent a little 10 days in India with him. And he doesn't have a lot of followers or anything. And then this is one of the things I wanted in a teacher, somebody just to be a friend. And so we spent 10 days with him, and he kind of gave us some of the basics for the meditation. And I had a good experience, but I didn't have I would say the permanent state of enlightenment,
Oh.
And I said, look, I want to get it. I really want to get it, And he says, if you want to get it, he says, do the 40 days. And so he had everything planned. And then he wrote to me and he says, we don't have a place. He didn't have a home. He didn't have a place for us to do the meditation. And I said, well, we could just rent a hotel or do something. He says, well, wait a minute, I'm going to ask around. And it just so happened one of his students was an architect, and they were completing this community center. It had a big room, and it had a little bedroom, a kitchen, a bathroom. And the guy said, we would like for you to do the meditation as kind of a christening for our new building.
Oh, what a great idea.
And so we planned to do that. And when we went, they also were looking for a teacher to stay in the building. And then they chose Yogi Ji, who was my teacher, to be that person. And then, they had the TV, the newspapers, and everybody there. And they said, this is now your building. And they gave us this building. After my 40-day experience, I was like, wow, we've got to share this with people. And I told Yogi Ji, but I want to share it, but we need more rooms. We only had one meditation room. And he says, yes. He says, we could put people in the hall and put like curtains around and have them meditate. I said, no, no, no. I said, everybody needs their own bathroom. They need to be able to have the same experience that I had. You know, they have their own bathroom, running water, their own bed, private experience, a little bit like a cave in a way, but a comfortable cave, you know, so you don't have snakes and bugs chewing on you.
Western cave.
Yeah, yeah, Western. And I said, everybody can have the same experience that I had. And in 1 year, we manifested 5 more rooms.
Oh, great.
And then he looks at me and he says, this wasn't my wish. This was your creation.
So you learned how to manifest.
We manifested an ashram, yes. And, you know, I don't even have my own house, but I've got an ashram in India. Don't even have a car, you know, I've got an ashram in India I manifested because that's where my heart was at, especially.
Yeah.
You know, it reminded me a little bit of Mikao Asui's story. He had his awakening. He's coming down the mountain, and all of a sudden he's having these miraculous healings happen.
Yes.
And this is the direction he took Reiki then, you know, in a way. And
yeah,
you know, this is the things that are manifest. I know that he still you know, his teachings are different from today's teachings because he focused more on the meditation. He focused more on the awakening, where Reiki today generally focuses more on the healing. But this is what was manifested. This is what's and then we had another interesting story in India too, where we had a Reiki master come to the ashram. He was an Indian man. And before then, you know, I mean, we have about 10 people that would come every night to the meditation. And Yogi Ji, when I first met him, he told me, he says, you know, he says, people are really not interested in enlightenment. And I'm like, what? He goes, no, he says, people aren't interested in enlightenment. I said, no, that's not true. He says, believe me. And I said, okay, I trust you. So the Reiki person came. He started doing healing, you know, telling everybody, oh, I can heal with my Reiki. We had about 30 people show up then. And Yogi Ji looks at me and he says, you see? He says, people are interested in healing.
That's right.
And I was like, wow. I said, because, you know, here he was doing his best to teach enlightenment and the path of enlightenment, but people weren't interested. And then somebody comes, says, oh, I do healing work. Let's go. Let's line up.
Yeah. That's where I think is this fear thing that people fear to come too close to divine.
Yes.
Because I don't know. What do you think? Why do they fear that?
It's unknown. You know, it's like the dark.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many things people fear about the dark because they can't see, you know, in the dark.
Yeah. And
so there's this fear of things that are unknown. One of the interesting things I found with the word Sekhem is that its definition is a little bit like it's connected to, they call it the hidden sun.
Oh.
So it's like you have the, you know, people talk about, oh, I go into the light, but the Sekhem was defined more as what's behind the light.
Right.
The hidden part, the formlessness.
I see.
And this gets into the whole awakening process, because what's happening is that when you go into an awakened state, it's formless.
Right.
There's no form. And because there's no form and you have nothing to attach to, you can't see, you can't hear, you can't taste, you can't, then you go into fear because you're not comfortable with that. So sometimes I would wake up and I would be like, well, where am I? Who am I? You know, and I would feel this fear kind of wave coming out. Oh, no, I am.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then it doesn't matter for me to know who or what I am. And then you have the experience.
It's just the clothes we need to wear to have some special experiences we want to have, right?
Yes, exactly.
Well, it appears to me that you are a modern mystic.
Another label.
Another label, yes, yes. But, you know,
Yes. But I
even
mean,
if you don't need it, but they need it.
this is what we do.
Yeah, yeah.
This is what we're doing now. We're helping people wake up to this reality.
I see, I see. So what you're teaching, if I understand that right, is getting spiritually realized.
Yes.
That's
Exactly.
wonderful. That's wonderful.
Exactly.
Thank
Just
you.
wake up.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful to see you again.
Great to see you.
I love talking to you.
Same here. I'm looking much forward to our group we give together, you know.
Yes, it'll be fun. We do a little meditations together. We do a little, you know, we like to talk like this, but then we're also going to do a little meditation where you can help lead a little something, I'll lead a little something, and we'll weave together whatever it is that we do.
Yeah, okay. That's what we will do, and I guess that when these two waves come together, we will have lots of interesting ripples.
Yes, wonderful.
Thank you very much, Patrick.
Oh, thank you, Walter. Great to chat with you.
Same here, and I'm looking forward to our next meeting.
Yes, all love. All love. Thank you.